This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason Glick. What's going on, man?
Hey, John. So we're back talking about a series that I've been going on about for a little while. It's and if you've been reading the blog, it's like you maybe aware that it's time to talk about this series. And this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's like the most Stephen King-ish series of manga out there. I mean, well, it's I guess it's maybe overselling it a bit, but JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a thoroughly entertaining and decidedly weird series that has been going on since the 80s, and at one point seemed to be only destined for cult fandom in America. It's I mean I did a podcast on its most prominent incarnation, Stardust Crusaders, years ago. It's way back in 2015 or 2014 or years ago. It's eons ago in internet times. But this is back when Viz was making the push for JoJo's Adventure in paperback editions. They did 14 volumes of this series, and they did all of Stardust Crusaders, and it didn't push the needle as far as fans are concerned. But then something interesting happened. There was there were fighting games released about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and then there was also the animated series based on it. Crazy enough, hey, it's this weird cult anime series got an anime adaptation, and people actually started to really dig it, both for its first arc about Joseph about so about not Joseph Joestar, but it's the patriarch of the Joestar family. It's fighting against its eternal nemesis Dio, and then it's most ridiculous hero Joseph Joestar fighting against people who were trying to eradicate his family line after that arc, because the first two arcs of JoJo's Adventure, Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency, they were fine. They were entertaining in themselves. But it wasn't until we got to Stardust Crusaders, the third arc, which is when creator Hirohiko Araki finally figured out how to make things click, because we've got it's the main protagonist of Stardust Crusaders, Jotaro Joestar, who is when we meet at the beginning of this arc, he is in a prison cell, saying don't come near me, because I've got a supernatural force who will kill you. And that's when his grandfather, Joseph Joestar, basically tells him that no, it's what you've got is the power of our family, a stand, the power of the tarot, who is going to who's going to lend you its power as we fight against our our enemies. And Stardust Crusaders, as I talked about way back in the day, is thoroughly entertaining. It is definitely the definitive JoJo's Bizarre Adventure storyline, because it crystallizes the idea that it's not just about people the Joestar family fighting against its enemies, but it's also just about outsmarting them. It's because the series is isn't about just beating your enemies into submission. It's about just finding out how do I outsmart them. It's and and deal this final blow to them with by just finding a better strategy than they have. And that's and that's like the real appeal that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has, at least through these first three storylines. And then you get to this storyline, the one I'm talking about right now. Diamond is Unbreakable, which basically picks up after it's like after Stardust Crusaders, and you're left with like the idea like well, okay, you finally delivered the storyline that just like makes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure click. Fighting against like the bad guys, but also just like finding out a way to outsmart them. It's like, so how do you further that? How do you make that storyline like work out in terms of an ongoing like story basis? Well, I may have mentioned this before, but I think that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is kind of the closest we get to like a Stephen King storyline. It's like in manga, because like if we're taking like a very generalized like look at this stuff, it's like King's stories are very similar to like JoJo's stories. Just the idea that someone like just an average person like living in like an average town has somehow like developed like supernatural powers, and then they're trying to figure out like how do we deal with this stuff, that kind of thing. But it's like but with but while King has like probably more grounded idea of like how these people like deal with their like supernatural powers, um JoJo's creator Hirohiko Araki has a much more over the top version of this, and that's kind of the appeal of the series here, because that's where we start with this latest arc, Diamond is Unbreakable, because well, it's like here we are like having just finished up with like the most like popular and well known arc of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Well, it's like where do you go from there? It's like, in fact, like, do you even like bring in like the characters from like the previous arc? Well, because hey, that's what Araki does. Because it turns out that the main character from like Stardust Crusaders, Jotaro Joestar, well, he's come to the quiet like sleepy town of Morioh in Japan to meet a Josuke Higashikata, because well, as it turns out that his his granddad, Joseph Joestar, like the great like the goofy hero from like from arc 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and the mentor character in Stardust Crusaders. Well, it turns out that he like fathered a bastard kid to his to his wife. It's like, and Jotaro has come to let let this guy know about about his legacy, because Josuke Higashikata, well, it's like he's got his own stand. It's like a stand known as Shining Diamond, and it's like and while Jotaro is basically like here to let him know about his heritage. Well, it's like Josuke has already like got a pretty good idea of like what what his what his power entails, and that will be like the general setup for the series. Well, that's only part of it, because it turns out that that Jotaro has also come to Morioh to track down the like the bow and arrow instigator of stands, because it turns out that one of the characters from Stardust Crusaders, it's like have the power to inspire other people to create stands of their own, and they're he's trying to figure out just okay, so like, so what are we going to do here? It's like like there's a set of characters who have the power to create new stands. It's like, and we have to figure out just what are we going to do about them. And on one hand, that sounds like a pretty solid kind of setup for the series. Like, we're gonna find the people who are creating like new stands, it's like, and deal with them. And that's about true to the first like 3 volumes of the Visit edition, because it's like they eventually um like uh like um like Josuke, and Josuke eventually does track down the like the wielder of these newsstands, but eventually it's revealed that there's actually more stands, like more like creators of these stands as well. Like there's actually a like like a like more bow and arrows than initially revealed. And that's fine and all. That's cool, but I think that the biggest issue I have with this series is that while it initially sets up the idea of it's like we're going to track down the origins of the stands, it doesn't deal with that. It's like it eventually like lets you know that like there are other people who are like like have these powers, and they're going to to create chaos like for Josuke, it's like, and his friends such as Okuyasu, who is initially like said to be like the one of like the like one of the antagonists of this, it's like this arc. It's like in the sense that he's like he's like working with his brother to like to set up new like antagonists, like with the like the specific bow and arrow set that his brother has. Oh, and then there's also like Koichi, who had eventually like who's also like shot like eventually shot with the arrow, but lives and is eventually revealed to be like a stand wielder, like in his own way, but in the sense that hey, like his stand like evolves over the course of the series, and that's one of like the key points of this arc. In this, that it reveals like stands can evolve and be and have their own and evolve different powers as the series goes on. And that's interesting in the course of like what Koichi does. Like Jotaro, sorry, Josuke, like he doesn't do that over the course of the series. Like he's just kind of like delivering like working with his like like healing stand, but Araki does a good job of like delivering a lot of like interesting like things with his, it's like with his stand's ability. It's like especially like the most like imaginative bit, which is when he and Okuyasu go to this like Italian diners like this Italian restaurant, like who basically like says like oh, it's like like you've got to like like it's like like he like you have to deal with like my abilities. It's like just like accept like what's going on here. It's like, and it's all these like like oh my god, it's like this is like it's like some horror movie like stuff here. It's like it's like you can't like succumb to okay, also you just can't succumb to like what he's doing here. But then you realize like oh man, like oh, this is like a real trip here. It's like he's not actually like like murdering him. He's actually like making him better. But because of like what we're expecting like to go on here, it's actually like it plays against our expectations, like quite well. In fact, like I think that the like that like Araki does a good job of playing against our expectations over the course of the series, but he also does a job of just playing into like what we'd expect from a JoJo story. Just the idea that it's not about what whether or not we can like outfight a character from this arc. It's about whether or not we can outthink them. whether or not we can figure out hey, this guy is living on a it's like on a transmission tower. It's like, well, wait a second, like what if he's like got his own weaknesses to exploit because he's living on there, or what if the guy who can it's like you can turn us into paper because he can recognize our fear sign. Like what it's like what does he have? What can he do in order to it's like in order to like make us victorious over the bad guy of this arc. That's kind of like what happens in Mysterioso of the final of volume 8, because when this guy basically says like, hey, it's like I'm gonna turn you into paper, Josuke, because I recognize your fear sign because you bite your lip. Like Josuke basically says, hey, you better kill me right now, because if you don't, it's like I'm gonna come back and beat your face in. Like that's kind of like the general attitude that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has. It's like it's all about just figuring out just what can you do to outsmart the other guy. And even when it comes down to the series' most memorable character, Rohan, Rohan. It's because he's like a guy who just he's a manga creator, and he instantly is presented to be it's like a it's like an antagonist to Josuke and Koichi. He's eventually revealed to be it's like someone who is subject to the same kind of trials they're up against, because when he realizes that, oh, wait a second, it's the person who's who's out to kill everyone. It's it's also vulnerable to my stand. Well, I've got to deal with him as well. It's like I guess with with the series, it's there's unlike Stardust Crusaders, where it's like a thoroughly a formally progressing series. Just hey, it's we're just getting closer to Dio with every fight. With this arc, it just kind of feels like they're kind of just dealing with the how do we deal with these with the villain hiding behind the conventional everyday small town life that we have in each arc. And on one hand, it's it kind of works, but at the same time, there's a lot of arcs where it kind of feels oh, it's we're dealing with introducing a new character, but it's also just kind of simply advancing this meta arc about people who are meant to play victim to this character. It's and just just be victims for the overall arc. And I think that as far as JoJo's arcs go, I mean, yeah, it's I realize it's not going to be original or interesting to say that hey, Stardust Crusaders is still the best arc, but I still think that reading it's reading this arc on Diamond is Unbreakable. It still offers a lot of the appeal that I like in the series. Just the idea that these characters are just fighting against characters who are more clever than they are, and just trying to figure out just what they can do against them. The actual conflict mostly boils down to the fact that they're up against serial killer who has multiple stand abilities, and like they're just trying to figure out like how do we beat this guy in the end. It's like and this killer like Yoshikage Kira, well, he's actually like a really compelling antagonist in the sense that it's like it's not just about them like figuring out how do you beat this guy. It's like he is like a vulnerable like kind of weak antagonist, but he also like he's also still clever enough to find a way to find to to find a way to like defeat and outsmart his characters like Josuke, Nokiyasu, and Koichi. It's like as the series goes on, it's like in fact like it's like I like the fact that they that Arakai positioned like Kira as just as that kind of character, because it's like I like a villain who is just like kind of trying to figure out like what do I do. It's like like the good guys have actually like got me in a corner here, so like how am I gonna figure this out. It's like how am I gonna get escape from there. It's like like from there like from them outsmarting me. It's like and I like that. That's kind of like what I generally like about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in general. It's like it's never about how you outpunch the like the guy you're fighting against. It's all about how you outsmart them. And even if Kira or Yoshikage Kira, like because like when I say Kira, it's like we're thinking about Death Note, and like no, this series is much better than that. But with when you get to the final arc, and even if like like the complications of like the new abilities that Kira has acquired are just kind of like what, this is like ridiculous. But in the end, when it's like when Josuke just finally this like faces him, feels like he's facing off against Kira like on a like on like pure like on a pure basis, just basically like, hey, it's like I've got my ability against you, it's like, and you're facing off against me, and like my ability. It's like we're gonna like make make things work. I think it plays it very well. It's like so no, it's like I don't think that Diamond is Unbreakable is like a it's like a better JoJo's Bizarre Adventure arc than it's like than Stardust Crusaders, but I still think it's thoroughly entertaining in and of its own terms. Just the fact that mainly because of the fact that hey, it's like, it's all about just facing off against like the bad guys, and just like delivering. It's like hey, it's like how do you defeat the bad guys? Well, I'm gonna figure out a way to outsmart them, and I think is like the core appeal of JoJo as it is, and even if Diamond is Unbreakable doesn't quite deliver on that same level, I think it's still entertaining as a result, and it's also the reason I'm still gonna like follow this series, and why I want to like keep following it to the next part, which Viz has announced it's going to license. That's like Golden Wind, which has already been adapted into an anime. It's like it's about like the quote unquote son of Dio, but we'll see how that goes. And it's like as far as things go, it's like okay, you like JoJo's, it's like go and pick this up. No, it's not as good as Stardust Crusaders, but I still think it's a worthy follow up, and it's like like a very like thoroughly entertaining in the sense that hey, it's kind of like it's a it's a very Stephen King-ish story in the sense that you've got like average people like earning like like more than average powers and figuring out what they have to do with them. So I I thoroughly enjoyed this arc, even if it's not quite on the level of the previous one. So there
So,
you go.
so basically, something to continue the revenge and hate.
Absolutely, man. Because yeah, it's like JoJo's Adventure is going on like forever. It's like, and it's like, yeah, I think that there's a good reason it has been going on for that long, not just because like it's because of blind obedience, but because it really is. Each arc like has its own distinct appeal, and I think that each arc is really like that entertaining as it goes on.
Sounds cool. So, do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Well, I guess we're going to talk about like more conventional like superheroics in the sense that Brian Michael Bendis's Superman stint is over, and hey, it's like I've got all the volumes for that, so I guess it's time to like talk about was Bendis's decampment to DC to write Superman like all that good, or was it just like kind of like eh, just familiar superhero stuff and all.
All right, then. You'll have to stay tuned and find out what his opinions are on this one. All right, and we'll talk to you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters.
Bye.